All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Kakadash, Barak Thumb to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim, Wa'akwaf, and I say Shalom. And the Heavenly Father, the true name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Bahashem, the name of Mashiach Yahweh. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, Lost one Gadash tongue. And I say Barak Thumb to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim, Wa'akwaf once more, and I say Shalom. And this is a sit-down lesson of the prophecy updates as of March the 17th, 2025, and on this Monday noon. And it reads, U.S. to hold Iran responsible for further Houthi attacks, Trump says. And this was published on March the 17th, 2025 by the Jerusalem Post staff and updated March the 17th, 2025. It says over the weekend, the U.S. President Donald Trump posted a backhanded threat to the Houthis in Iran on his platform, Truth Social. The U.S. President Donald Trump said on Monday that Iran will be held responsible and face dire consequences for any future further attacks by Yemen Houthis. Every shot fired by the Houthis will be looked upon from this point forward as being a shot fired from the weapons and leadership of Iran, and Iran will be held responsible and suffer for the consequences, and those consequences will be dire, Trump said on True Social. Overnight, the U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, continued to carry out strikes on the Iranian-backed group. The U.S. agency announced via X overnight that the attacks will continue. The Houthis claim 53 people have been killed as a result of the strike, which began on Saturday. The White House National Security Advisor Mike Watts said the U.S. strikes took out several Houthi leaders, and the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said on Sunday that the United States will conduct unrelenting strikes against the Houthis in Yemen until the groups cease their military actions targeting U.S. assets and global shipping. These comments comes as Iran has slowly distanced itself from proxies, the Houthis, amending the U.S. strikes in Yemen. It says setting clear intentions. Over the weekend, President Donald Trump posts on backhand threats to the Houthis and Iran on his platform, Truth Social. Funding by Iran, the Houthis thugs have fired missiles at U.S. aircraft and target our troops and our allies. These relentless assaults that have cost the U.S. and the war economy many billions of dollars, while at the same time putting innocents at risk. The president stressed. He later said that the U.S. forces will come from the Houthis. To all Houthis groups, your time is up, and your attacks must stop starting today. If they don't, hell will rain down upon you like nothing you have ever seen before. He wrote. It says the Iran support for the Houthis must end immediately. Do not threaten the American people. Their president, who has received one of the largest mandates in present history for worldwide shipping lanes. If you do, beware, because Americans will hold you fully accountable, and we will not be nice about it. Right, because at the same time, you're still going to have the alliance between the United States and Israel versus the pro-Iranian groups and the Houthi rebels. So Iran versus Israel, that's going to heat up. Yep, so Iran and the pro-Iranian groups versus the United States Army's Great Britain and the Israel Defense Force. So these are signs of wars and rumors of war. So we definitely seeing escalations heating up over there in the Arabian Sea, over there in the Red Sea, throughout that whole region, and especially throughout Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, the Gaza Strip, the Palestinian territory, throughout that whole region. You're going to be seeing increasing wars and rumors of wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. So Donald Trump, the president, and the Trump administration holds Iran fully accountable As I was reading a news article, as been multiple times of reports that Iran trying to distance themselves from the Houthi rebels, because they are in solidarity with the Palestinians and Hamas as well too, and support pro-Iranian, So he's still gonna have them accountable for that. So that's only gonna stir up more tensions between Iran and the United States, and Iran versus Israel, and the proxy groups and the pro-Iranian groups going against the Israel Defense Force throughout that whole region over there in Western Asia. So that's gonna stir up more nuclear escalation of tensions, and that's only gonna build up to the Third World War. And this is the book of Matthew. It's the book of Matthew 24, verse 6. Yep, this is the book of Matthew 24, verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Right, that's what we're hearing. The Houthi rebels, pro-Iranian groups going against the United States armies in Great Britain and the Israel Defense Force over there in the Red Sea. So those are signs of increasing wars and rumors of wars. The Russia-Ukraine situation, those are wars and rumors of wars. China versus Taiwan, those are rumors of wars. North Korea versus South Korea, Japan, United States, those are wars and rumors of wars. China versus the Philippines, those are wars and rumors of wars. It says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must first come to pass, but the end is not yet. Right, so it's going to come to pass, but it's not going to end just yet. Matthew 24, verse 7, for nations shall rise against nations. Right, as we're seeing, nations shall rise against nations. Iran versus Israel, the pro-Iranian groups, the Houthi rebels going against the Israel Defense Force and the United States and Great Britain. For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Matthew 24, verse 8, all these are beginning of sorrows. Right, so all these are very important biblical signs, the signs of times, the beginning of sorrow, which is only going to continue to increase. And that's what we're seeing. And this is the book of 2nd Esdras 15 and verse 15. It says, for the sword of destruction draweth nigh, and one people should stand up and fight against another with swords in hands. Right. Modern day nations fighting against one another with swords in hands, and that's what we're seeing. So one people should stand up and fight against another with swords in their hands, and that's what we're seeing in our world today. Just like that occurred in ancient times, now we see it once again in modern day times, because there's no new thing under the sun. 2nd Esdras 15 verse 16, for there should be sedition among men, which we're seeing right now, invading one another. They shall not regard their kings, nor their princes, and of course their actions stay at power. It's 2nd Esdras. 2nd Esdras 9 verse 3. Therefore, when there should be seen earthquakes, uproars, people in the world. Right, so increasing earthquakes and uproars, people in the world, and that's what we're seeing. So as it says, once again, U.S. Slovakia. Yep, so as it says, once again, U.S. to hold Iran responsible for further Houthi attacks, Trump says. So that's only going to build up to the Third World War and building up to the wars, rumors of wars. And this is a news article from March the 17th, 2025 by Reuters and JerusalemPost.com, and updated March the 17th, 2025, and it reads, it says Syrian troops exchange fire with Lebanese armies groups in northeastern Lebanon. Lebanese President Joseph said he ordered the army to respond to the sources of firing from northern and eastern borders of Syria. The Syrian troops exchanged fire with Lebanese soldiers and armed groups in northeast Lebanon overnight and into Monday in a new round of clashes around the border, right? Because we've been seeing a whole bunch of different types of clashes throughout last year and all into now. So we got a new fresh of clashes heating up over there in the borders of Syria and Lebanon. It says there have been frictions along the tumultuous frontiers in the months since the Islamic rebels toppler of Syria's Bashar al-Assad, an ally of Tehran and Iran-backed Lebanese armed groups Hezbollah, and install of their own institutes and army. It says late on Sunday, Syrian Defense Ministries accused Hezbollah of crossing into Syrian territory and kidnapping and killing 3 members of Syria's new armies. Hezbollah denied any involvement, and Lebanese security sources told Reuters that the 3 Syrian soldiers have crossed into Lebanese territory first and will were killed by army members of the tribe of the northeastern Lebanon who feared their town was under attack. In the retaliation of those deaths, Syrian troops shells Lebanese border towns overnight, according to the Syrian Defense Ministries and Lebanese armies. Residents of the town of Al-Qashar, less less than a 1 kilometer from the border, told Reuters that they feel further inland to escape the bombardment. Lebanese President Joseph said he ordered the army to respond to the sources of fire from northern and eastern borders with Syria. According to a statement by its officials, Alun said the state will not allow clashes along the borders to continue, hanging over bodies. The Lebanese army said in a statement Monday that it had hang over the bodies of 3 Syrian authorities that had responded to the fire from Syrian territory and sent reinforcements to the border. Syrian armies sent a convoy of troops and several tanks to the frontier on Monday, according to the Reuters reported along the border. Syrian troops fired into the air as they moved through the towns on the way to the border. Large military reinforcements were brought into reinforced positions along the Syrian-Lebanese border and prevent any breaches in the coming days, said Mirar Zamani, head of the Syrian Armed Division deployed in the. It says the Army Division deploying the border. It's the book of Second Edges, chapter 9, verse 3. It says, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes, uproars, people in the world, right? So increasing earthquakes and uproars, people in the world, and that's what we're seeing. Once again, Second Edges 15 and verse, Second Edges 15 verse 15. It says, for the sword of destruction draweth nigh, one people should stand up and fight against another with swords in hands. Right, as we're seeing different clashes against one another. That's why it says one people should stand up and fight against another with swords in hands. Just like I read that news article, because there have been clashes between the Lebanese armies and Syrian armies. It says, for the sword that destruction draweth nigh, one people should stand up and fight against another with swords in hands. Second Edges 15 verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men, invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor their princes, and of course the action stand in power. We're going to see that.
Yeah, it's cut off. Okay.
It's the book of Luke 21, verse 25. It says, there shall be signs in the sun, in the moon, and the stars upon the earth. Disgressive nations will perplex and Caesar is born. Right, so we're seeing the increasing of the disgressive nations will perplex and Caesar is born. That's what we're seeing among the nations. That's why we're seeing the increasing of the impact of the seditions and the uprisings and the uproars people world. That's what we're seeing. Yep, as it says again, Syrian troops exchanged fire with Lebanese army groups in northeast Lebanon. So that's seditions among the nations. Another news article. It says a U.S. airstrike eliminates Houthi leader and security chief of Yemen report. It says overnight U.S. Central Command continues to carry out strikes on the Iranian-backed groups. The chief of the Houthi leader's security details were reportedly killed during a U.S. strikes on Houthi targets in Yemen. Saudi media outlet reported on Monday. The overnight U.S. Central Command CENTCOM continues to carry out strikes on the Iranian-backed groups. The U.S. agency announced via X overnight that the attacks will continue. The Houthis claim 53 lives have been killed as a result of the strikes, which began on Saturday. Speaking with the ABC News on Monday, White House National Security Advisor Mike Waltz said the U.S. strikes took out several Houthi leaders. And defense secretary Pete said in a Sunday that the United States will conduct unrelenting strikes against the Houthis in Yemen when the groups cease their military actions and target U.S. assets and global ship. Right, that's another sign of wars and rumors of wars. Check the Middle East once again, which is Western Asia. It says Syria's new government confront Hezbollah. It says the Syrian government is also trying to deal with the fallout of clashes in Latakia, which numbers of civilians were killed by extremists. The Syrian's new government has been forced to confront Hezbollah in Lebanon after several members of the Syrian security forces were killed. The killing happened just across the border from North Lebanon. This area is Herman al-Syria has been infiltrated by Iranian-backed groups in the past, and it serves as a staging area for Hezbollah when it intervened in the Syrian War of 2012. Right, another signs of upwards people of the world. Bring up that Saint Mark. Ecclesiasticus 3 verse 8. In a time to love, in a time of HATE, in a time of war, in a time of peace, where we live in those times, especially the time of war and the time of HATE, which is increasing. And this is the book of Saint Mark, chapter 3, and verse 24. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom cannot stand. Right, so that's why we're seeing so much clashes and uproars and seditions among the nations. That's why we're seeing modern day kingdoms being divided and modern day nations being divided. It says, and if a kingdom be divided against itself, the house cannot. If a kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom cannot stand. St. Mark 3, verse 25. And if a house be divided against itself, the house cannot stand, which we're seeing. St. Mark 3, verse 26. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, cannot stand, we have an end. Right, we're seeing signs of it. And once again, this is Matthew 24 and verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. Right, that's what we're seeing. Nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Right, so increasing nation against nations, kingdom against kingdoms, wars, rumors of wars, and increasing famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places, which we're going to continue to see increase more and more and more. As once again, we're living in modern day biblical signs of times. Get to some more prophecy updates. It says Moscow confirms Putin-Trump phone call date. It says U.S. reportedly shut down probe into alleged kidnapping. It says Houthis claim new attack on U.S. Navy carrier group, which they made that announcement as of yesterday as well too. And in retaliation of those airstrikes that the United States and Great Britain did a couple of days now. So as the United States is going to continue their airstrike campaign against the Houthi rebels, so it's definitely tensions is only going to continue to abound over there in Western Asia and throughout over there in the Arabian Sea and over there in the Red Sea. It says the Houthis claim new attack on U.S. Navy carrier group. The strike comes in retaliation for the deadliest U.S. bombing campaign launched on Yemen. The Yemen-based Houthi movement said it has targeted a U.S. Navy carrier group in 2 long-range strikes over the past 24 hours, calling the attack in retaliation for the deadliest bombing campaign mounted by Washington over the weekend. The group said on Sunday that it had launched some 18 ballistic missiles and drones at the aircraft carrier USS Harriet Truman and its accompanying warship. The attack was followed closely by another long-range strike, and the group said on Monday the Houthis did not claim to have hit the warships, while the Pentagon has no public comment on the alleged attack either. The U.S. President Trump orders a powerful military actions against the militants on Saturday over what he described as a unrelenting campaign in privacy violence groups. The Houthis group, officially known as the Ansar al-Ahad movement, has been in control of a large of the most populous parts of war-torn Yemen. It says, including the capital of Sinai, since the mid 2000s. Since the mid 20s, since the mid 2010s. It says, effectively actions as the country is de facto authorities. It says the strike on Saturday killed at least 53 people and left nearly 100 injured, according to the country's Houthi-run ministry. The Trump National Security Advisor Mount Walks claimed the attacks hit multiple Houthi leaders and took them out, and the additional airstrikes were reported by local Houthi affiliates members on Sunday night. The targets reportedly including the cotton ginning plant located in the western coastal regional of Hodeidah and an Israeli war ship shipped by the Houthis over a year ago. It says the group has launched numerous strikes in the international shipping that believed to be linked to Israel since late 2023 in a campaign staged in solidarity with the Palestinians. The Houthis also repeatedly conducted long-range ballistic missiles and drone strikes on the Israel, as well as one Western military vessel deployed into the region. The U.S., UK, Israel have repeatedly bombed alleged Houthi militant sites in retaliations, yet the strikes have largely failed to stop the attacks on the naval traffic. The Houthis put their campaign on hold early this year after Israel and Palestine militant groups Hamas reached a truce in Gaza. The groups announced the resumption of their attacks last week after Israel fails to meet the deadline for unblocking the flow of humanitarian aid. Right, that's another sign of wars and rumors of wars once again in Matthew 24 verse 6. It says Russian superjet makes milestone test flying. U.S. must return Statue of Liberty to France. That's interesting. It says UK moves ending troop deployment in Ukraine. Times report. It says Ukraine will have to make territorial concessions. Watch reports. NATO ally turns down U.S. plea for eggs. Let's go to air news. As it says, Syrian troops exchange fire with Lebanese armies groups in northeast Lebanon, which I read that news article already. Israel strike kills 5 people in Gaza, local medics says. It says U.S. vows to keep hitting Houthis until shipment tap stops. Was they not going to stop? It says Houthi leaders calls for million-strong rally after U.S. deadly strikes. This is another sign of wars and rumors of wars. And this goes into I believe that second edge of this chapter that the dragons of Arabia is going to rise up against the Israel Defense Force, and it goes into that Ezekiel the 38th chapter that Russia is going to be guarding these nations of Iran, Ethiopia, Libya, and Turkey as well too. As you see in that little 40-second clip right there, the Houthi leader calls for a million strong. It says Houthi leader calls for a million strong rally after deadly U.S. strikes. Right, so that's only going to stir up more tensions between the pro-Iranian groups and the Dragons of Arabia. They all going to team up together going against the coalition forces of Great Britain and the United States and the Israel Defense Force. So that's another signs of building up of wars and rumors of wars and the building up to the Third World War. That's what we're seeing signs of it. It says Abdul Maliki al-Houthi, if I pronounce his name right, defiant in the face of the U.S. threat to continue to strike until the Houthis end their attacks on shipping, which that's not going to happen anytime soon. It says the Houthi said the Houthi was targeting in the latest U.S. strikes, claimed second attack on U.S. ships in 24 hours. It says claims the second attack on U.S. ships in 24 hours. It says the leader of Yemen, Iran-backed Houthi rebels on Sunday calls for a million-strong march in defiance after a deadly strike hit the capital of Sana'a and other areas. I call on our dear people to go out tomorrow on the anniversary of the Battle of Badr in a million-strong march in Sana'a and the rest of the governortees. Abdul Malik al-Houthi said in a televised address referring to a celebrated military victory by the Prophet Muhammad. It says, what's that, Genesis? I believe Genesis, the 16th chapter, Ishmael shall be as a wild man. It says in the speech aired Sunday night, Abdul Malik al-Houthi warned, we will confront the escalation with escalation. It says we will respond to the American enemy in its raids and its attacks with missile strikes by targeting its aircraft carrier and its warships. So that definitely they're gonna target the Israel Defense Force. They're gonna go target the United States armies, and they're gonna target the Great Britain as well too. All those coalition of allies. It says its warships and its secretive Houthi leader says, however, he will also still have an escalation options if it continues its aggression, which the United States is going to continue to use airstrikes aggressions against them. It says if it continues its aggression, we will move to an additional escalation options. It says he will not elaborate. It says hours after al-Houthi speech, the Yemen's military claimed responsibilities on Monday for a second attack on a American aircraft carrier groups in 24 hours, calling it a retaliation for the strikes. A spokesperson for the group said for the second time in 24 hours, the Houthi fighters launched missiles and drones at the U.S. carrier S. Truman, several of its warships in the northern Red Sea, I meant to say. It says the announcement came a few hours after the Houthi-affiliated Al-Masar TV early on Monday reported that the U.S. launched two strikes targeting the Hudaida, an port city of western Yemen controlled by the Houthis. The Hudaida has served as a launching pad for the Houthi attacks on commercial vessels passing through Al-Mandi Strait, which connects to the Arabian Sea and the Gulf of Eden and the Indian Ocean. The United States military has yet to make any statement regarding the report strikes on Hudaida. On Sunday, the Houthis-run media ministry says the overnight U.S. strikes killed at least 53 children and wounding. It kills at least 53 people, including 5 women and children, and wounding almost 100 in the capital of Sana'a and other provinces, including Sitdown and rebel stronghold on the borders with Saudi Arabia. It says the overnight strike was one of the most intense attacks against the Houthis since the war began in Gaza in October 2023. The U.S. president has vowed to use overwhelming lethal force until the Houthis cease their attacks and warned that Tehran will be held full accountable for their actions. Right, that's going to stir up rise tensions between the United States and Iran even more, which was previously. We're going to see it once again. It says we're not going to leave these people control ships and continue to go through, and which ones cannot. And your question is, how long will this go on? It will go on until they no longer have a capability to do so. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told the CBS on Sunday. It says he said that these are not the on and off retaliation strikes the Biden administration has carried out after Houthi attacks. The attacks have repeatedly targeted international shipping in Red Sea, sinking two vessels in what they call solidarity with the Palestinians in Gaza, where Israel has been at war with Hamas and another Iranian ally. It says Rubio says that over the past 18 months, the Houthis have attacked the U.S. Navy directly 174 times and targeting commercial shippings 145 times using guided precision anti-ship weaponry. It says the attacks sparked the most serious combat the U.S. Navy has since World War II. Bring up that revelation, then I'm gonna close it out. It's the book of Revelations, 11 verse 14. The second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly. Right, so the second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly, which is Armageddon, Armageddon 1. Joel chapter 3 verse 9. Bring out another one. Yep, Joel chapter 3 verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Right, that's what we're seeing over there. Throughout Western Asia, the Heavenly Father is gathering the nations up over there in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, Armageddon, Armageddon 1. So we're going to continue to see that increasing. And that's only going to build up to the Third World War. Joel chapter 3 verse 10. Beat your plowshares and the swords and the pruning hooks and let the weak stand strong. Right, the Houthi rebels and the pro-Iranian groups are rising up against the coalition forces of Great Britain and the United States and the Israel Defense Force. And we're seeing that let the weak stand strong. So with that, hopefully this sit down lesson was edifying of this prophecy updates as of March the 17th, 2025 on this Monday afternoon. So with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai by Hashem HaKadosh. Barak thumb to the elders and apostles with Akim or Aqua. Until next time, I will say Shalom. And once again, the Heavenly Father, true name is Yahweh, and His unbegotten Son by Hashem. In the name of Hamashiach Yahushua, those are their true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, Lashma Kadashul tongue. And I say a Barak thumb to the elders and apostles with Akim or Aqua. Until next time, I will say Shalom.